All right, it's April the 20th, the year 2017. I've got a cold, but we're going to work our way through this. Daniel Riley, that's his address. He has, as you can see, 18 more years in prison if the Lord don't work a mighty miracle, which we are praying for. But I pray you write him a letter, encourage him. I've read a lot of Daniel's writings. I've talked to him on the phone a few times, and he's a unique individual, very intelligent about freedom, very articulate, very talented writer. And a letter came in the mail today. I scanned it. Let's read it. I think I scanned page 4 twice. So we'll just work our way through that. All right. As you can see, this is the envelope. He wrote it on the 17th, or it's postmarked the 17th, sorry. Took 3 days to get here. But he did date it April the 17th, so that's pretty good time to get to my house. Danbury, Connecticut. American people, my last paper of April the 10th grew too long, therefore I reserved to this one to speak further on the subject of our dying liberty. These oppressive laws, disarming the citizen militia and being upheld by our enemies' courts, are subversive of freedom and inconsistent with the heritage of the American Revolution. The melancholy truth is that these disarming laws are an omen to our approaching slavery. The founding generation made it abundantly clear with their caveat to us, their posterity, that whenever government plans to invade the rights and liberties of the people, they always attempt to destroy the militia. There are two forces in play here: liberty based on the laws of nature versus power based on human greed and self-interest. One wants more freedom and self-government, and the other wants more power and control. In all contentions between liberty and power, power is always the aggressor. Government always tries to increase its power under the pretext of public safety or public good. These latest militia rifle bands have altered the balance between liberty and power. So here we go again, on the road to revolution. There must certainly be a vast fund of stupidity in human nature, or else men would not be caught as they are 1,000 times over by the same snare, and while they yet remember their past misfortunes, go on to encourage the causes to which were owing to produce their ensnarement. The moneyed class has the power to control the government, and therefore always proceed legally in their tyranny. You see, these real, great, and general attacks on our natural rights are defended by giving it a good name, by which he who commits it is protected. Their violence, fraud, and oppression may be committed with security, if they are called laws. And the detestable authors of them are not only safe, but esteemed, if they are but called lawmakers. What this vulgar scum doesn't appear to realize is that it is the glory of honest men to trample bad laws underfoot with contempt, and it is equally our glory to protect ourselves in our lawful natural rights when those who rule the law fail to protect our rights. It is precisely because we are loyal to these traitors that we are loyal to the American people. Plainly stated, these militia rifle bands are injustice, masquerading in the form of law. It is further evident to me that these disarming laws have a detrimental effect on the political functions of the people. These include: 1. Increased reliance on government and tolerance of increased police power. 2. Repressive actions by government becomes easier and more likely. 3. Helps prevent opposition to government. 4. Lessens pressure on government to reform. 5. Promotes selective enforcement against dissidents. Such laws serve to disproportionately increase and monopolize power in government. It seems obvious to me, and only natural to conclude, that ultimate political power lies with those who control the means of force. Without the citizen militia, the people are doomed. Another twofold influence at play are natural law versus man-made statutory or positive law. Instinct is in every living creature that comes from the pull of natural law. The best known and superior instinct is the will to survive or self-preservation. The law of self-preservation is eternal and unchanging. The yearning for liberty is an appetite so strongly implanted in the nature of all living creatures that even the strongest instinct of self-preservation seems to be contained within it. From these two natural instincts spring the right to keep and carry arms. The right is bestowed upon us by nature simply because we were born, not by any man-made constitution. These are no longer propositions as they were at the time of the American Revolution. They are now self-evident facts. Natural law dictates the limits on government actions. On the other fold, you have man-made statutory law, which can never annul the laws of nature. When government uses statutory law to impose constraints upon our natural rights and liberty beyond those necessary to carry out and enforce the social constitution between the people, then the people need not obey, though adhering to these statutory laws carries an objective air of propriety. Such a passive tactic serves the interest of those in power. The doctrine of obedience to properly constituted authority was invented by tyrants, and the purest essence of tyranny is being forced to obey laws that one's conscience knows is to their own detriment or destruction. There has been too many struggles lost due to the cursed doctrine of passive obedience and non-resistance, and struggles against statutory law by using the tyrant's courts, a mistake we swear not to repeat. And since the government has been subverted and is now using statutory law to disarm the militia in an attempt to enslave the people, then the people can revert back to a state of nature and have an unfettered right to resist under the greatest of all laws, that of self-preservation. The militia rifle bands are so dangerous a thing as a bad precedent. The militia rifle bands are so dangerous a thing as a bad precedent, which is often an inlet to an endless train of oppression. One oppression will be supported by another, as we have witnessed. Once one state was allowed to ban militia rifles, others followed. As one breach of our natural rights passes once off with impunity, another will soon follow, and in time our rights will be considered privileges. These militia rifle bands insult our understanding and deal with us as if we had none. We can distinguish between protection and oppression. For the federal appeal courts to uphold bans on semi-automatic rifles and 30-round magazines because they are most useful for military purposes and therefore are not afforded the Second Amendment protection, when in reality these rifles and magazines should be protected not in spite of their military character but because of it. These mischievous maggots who voted for these who voted for these killing laws obviously did not consult their reason. They consulted their emotions and passions instead. Oh, so weak is the reason when the passions are strong, under the pretext of protecting us from unknown gunmen, only to allow the greatest gunman of all, the government, to destroy us. This reminds me of the time I saw a hawk very generously rescue a mourning dove from the persecution of two crows, and then eat the dove himself. I wish these sneaky scoundrels who voted for these militia rifle bands were put in the circumstances and the agonies of the guilty Cain, who justly feared that every man whom he met would kill him. This brings us full circle. Where these weak constitutions allowed the government to get off its leash. Evil has its roots in human nature. Considering what sort of creature man is, it is scarce possible to put him under too many restraints when he is possessed of great power. Government must be enclosed within clearly defined bounds, and it must be made terrible for it to exceed them. The more a nation bridles its government, the more freedom the nation will enjoy. Currently, we find ourselves discovering that the ambiguity and lack of explicitly in the U.S. Constitution and constitutions of the several states is and has allowed tyranny to establish a beachhead on the shore of liberty. The problem can and will not be allowed to persist and must be dealt with sooner rather than later. When liberty is threatened, all share the responsibility for defending it. It is everyone's self-interest to do so. If we do not stand by liberty to the shedding of the last drop of blood in our veins, we will be disgraced forever and rightly deserve the fate of groveling cowards. If you're not willing to die for your rights, you have no rights. And if we do not have the fortitude enough to face danger in a just cause, we are cowards indeed, and must in consequence of it be slaves of a tyrannical socialist government. It goes without saying, as freemen and women, we will not allow ourselves to be legislated out of our natural rights. The government uses what they call laws to prevent the citizen militia from properly arming itself, labeling all those who oppose it outlaws, when in fact we are soldiers in a just cause rather than outlaws. If we were to obey such laws, the people would by law be bound to be an unnecessary. Let me read that again. If we were to obey such laws, the people would by law be bound to be an accessory to their own ruin and destruction, which is inconsistent with the first principles of common sense. Did our forefathers fight the Revolution in vain? If the current struggle can be equated to the American Revolution, then the federal government is our Britain. If the federal government's Supreme Court upholds these militia rifle bands, it will have called the violence upon itself. As sure as the forces of nature express obedience to the laws of gravity, we must obey to the true principles of liberty and natural right, and resist at all cost. Self-preservation makes it necessary that the people hold together and defend themselves against this detestable scheming of the government. Let it be known to that despotic fraternity of lawmakers, or should I say lawbreakers, that we, the people, will not be fooled or frightened out of our right to own and possess militia rifles. The law of nature does not only allow us, but compels us to defend ourselves. It is our duty, not only to ourselves, but to the society. If we were to suffer tamely a lawless attack upon our natural rights, we would be guilty of encouraging it and contributing to our downfall. The natural dictates of our uncorrupted reasoning tells us that if these militia rifle bands are not repealed, we must resist with violent force as necessity dictates. These low-life lawmakers know we must oppose their execution of law, where it points directly at the weapons we need to remain free. But there is one consolation to us, that printed sentences that make up a man-made law will not jail us, and if the enforcers approach us, they will be as likely to fall victims of this illegal law as we. To all my like-minded readers, I hopefully speak for you as well as for me. With that I end. Take good care. He is a very bold and courageous writer. He's a proponent of the Second Amendment, even more than the Second Amendment. He goes beyond just the Constitution. He goes into, it's just our natural God-given right to bear arms to protect ourselves. God bless Daniel Riley. I hope he's encouraged. I hope you guys write him a letter. And we praise God for men like Daniel Riley that are in our country. We pray that they get out of prison soon. In the meantime, I pray that you write them an encouraging letter. Thank you for your time today.